Yeah, baby. Welcome back to Calling All Beings on a beautiful Sunday here in Colorado. I'm your host, DJ. It is Calling All Beings True Crime Unsolved. And we got a very special guest for you because it's people like this young lady that are going to prevent these sort of corrupt individuals from thinking they can get away with it. Because there was a time when not everybody had a cell phone, with a camera on it that could video, that could then replay things over and over and over again. But and you could do things like this. You could kill an Enrique Delgado or a John O'Keefe. You could hide evidence. But now you got people out there that are analysts, that are researchers, that are digging into every aspect of all the characters of this case to show them they can't get away with it. And I'm going to tell you what, my guest today has a YouTube that I started watching pretty early on when I became aware as an interested party of the Karen Reed case, and then started to broadcast about it with all of you know that Sean McDonough, the special DEA agent, supervisory special DEA agent, came on with me, and then that kind of launched me into this space. So thank you, Sean, as always. This homegirl right here, I saw her show. I don't know if it might have been the one where I'm like, what's Rule 27B? And she's like, guess what? I'm about to tell you. So if you think that you can get over on homegirls like this, I'm here to tell you, ain't gonna happen, baby. Because she is all over it, like green chili on a burrito or like gravy on rice. So without further ado, I'm so glad. It took me a while to get through to this young lady because she didn't want to deal with all the maniacs on social media. So she just has her YouTube and some Cash App stuff. And I had a Cash App just to get just to be in front of the queen. So party people, put your hands together for Analyze. Can I get a amen? Yeah.
Amen.
Bienvenidos to Analyze. It's good to have you home, girl.
It's good to be here. Thank you for having me.
Yes. Like the first time I heard you, I'm like, this lady's got to be in the legal profession. She's either a lawyer or a paralegal or a law clerk or something. So, like, what is your background that took you into this medium that makes you sound like you're able to read these legal read these laws and interpret them and espouse them so wonderfully and orate about them?
I have work in public transportation, and I would review contracts with the Department of Transportation and things like that. So I got used to reading legal language in a unique way. Some people go to law school. I had to study federal and state statutes for my job. And I also had to assist in public safety. And I went to college. So I was an honors student. I took researching and education very seriously.
Yeah.
So, yeah, I think you shouldn't have to be a lawyer to interpret legal language. You should just fight harder and educate yourself, and it makes you a better analyzer and critical thinker when you can read the language that everyone uses in the legal system.
Yeah, no, I agree with you. And you spoke about education, and I think even for someone who's in the trades, and even if you are in the trades and you're working on plumbing or electrical or AC, heating, ventilation, and air conditioning, anything like that, just to get some sort of an education. Not that you need to be called, like a master's degree or anything like that. I only have a bachelor's degree, but
Right.
Man, I felt so much more prepared for so many things when I graduated college. And I'm a Johnny come lately. I went through a 20-year Air Force career and only had an associate's, and then I got my bachelor's at like 50, something like that.
Right.
I went to Southern New Hampshire, but yeah, it's very important, and for reasons like what you talked about, interpret the laws and the language of our country. So,
Right.
and you do it so well. Golf
Thank
clap,
you. Thank you.
or maybe a DJ clap. So, so anyway, we want to jump into the Karen Reed case. If you guys have questions for Analyze, please post them in the chat. Hello, Kimberlina15. What's up, homie? Queen Olive, hello, everyone. Welcome, everybody. Julie may not be here tonight, our chat moderator. I don't know if Jessica is here. Also, she was not able to join me on Friday, and I convinced Analyze to take her spot. So we didn't have to go show less. And then, this whole legal brief dropped. But do you think we should start where I what I outlined, where we went on the phone? Or do you think that we should start at the legal briefs that came out from Mark Bedero? What are you thinking?
I'm open. I don't know if it's my feed or your feed, but your video comes in and out. I don't know if it's on my end, but
it could be me. Okay. My internet here is not. Actually, the internet company is coming tomorrow because I'm paying for 1 gig speed, but the router is sitting on the floor and it doesn't broadcast quite as well. So let me know if this becomes untenable, and we'll stop the show. Okay.
Okay, no problem. Yeah.
Captain Analyze in the building.
All
right. So let me start with this, and then we'll get into Analyze's impressions of what was filed by Mark Bedero. That was just, I guess it was 15 pages of fantasticness. And it really kind of illustrates Brady violations where they weren't given that which halted the Alec Baldwin trial and caused the judge to dismiss the charges. Am I saying that right? She dismissed it with prejudice, I believe, just because of the Brady violation committed by, ironically, what's that DA's name? Kerry Morris.
Right. Yeah.
Your target.
The Morrissey era. Yeah.
The Morrissey era in district attorneys writ large in the United States.
Yeah.
Hey, what's up, Sherry D? Welcome, everybody. We will get to you, but first, we only got an hour. We don't want to run into Mike's show, who's going to start at 7 p.m. Boston time. So let's go with Analyze. So let me see what I wrote the other day. I'm going to try to paraphrase myself here, my own tweet. Right. Essentially, what I had said is the Karen Reed investigation began the moment that any officer in charge, or what we'd say in the Air Force, an OIC, stepped onto the lawn or onto the snow at 34th Avenue, as Jennifer McCabe likes to say it. There's a man on the lawn at 34th Avenue. I'm not comfortable unless I do a show without imitating Jen McCabe. And the moment that one of them stepped on the lawn, and that was the beginning of the investigation. Exiting the car, stepping onto the lawn there, seeing John O'Keefe. The investigation ended the moment that they decided not to go knock on the door.
Right.
By virtue of who owned the home.
Right. Precisely. 1000%. Yep.
That was the end.
That was the end.
That was the... I think we all have to put that on our mind, that there could be less than 60 seconds in between those two things, and likely there was. Whether that was... who was the first? Was it Tully? I'm trying to remember who was the first officer on scene, because I know Gallagher lives across the street, and his involvement was giving him the solo cups and the stop and shop bags.
Right.
But whomever the first officer in charge at that time that stepped on there and said, okay, I'm on scene now. I've taken control of this scene. The investigation started when they said, can't go knock on that door.
Right.
That was the end.
Right. And they delayed the investigation that day too. They had to get permission, and the investigation was delayed. So that's another huge red flag.
They were calling because Berkowitz was on vacation. Chief Berkowitz was on vacation or something like that. So I think he had to be called. Saraf was the first, and then Link. says the cat lady. Thank you so much. You guys, I'm going to lean on you guys in the chat because some of you guys have banked some of these details that I have not. But whomever that first person was, because the mass state, I don't believe there was a recusal based on Kevin Albert. I believe the recusal was based on his death either at the hospital where he was pronounced dead. I'm sure they didn't pronounce him dead in the ambulance. They would have wanted an MD to do that. And so that's when the Mass State Police were called in.
Right.
And I don't know if anybody was on the scene at that point. I don't know because I remember Peter Murphy and them saying the scene was left Hey, what's up, Scott McGinnis? What's going on, legend? Welcome back. Berkowitz was out on medical leave. Okay. Maybe he was getting a brain transplant. I don't know. No music. Oh, are you guys? If you guys are hearing the music, I can kill it. You know how I love the music here. Is it on? Yeah, there you go. Okay, so let me know if you're hearing that. So then they said the crime scene was abandoned for several hours.
Right.
Until the Mass State Police came back.
Essentially.
Yeah.
Yeah. No real investigation was conducted in that time frame, and essentially all the conclusions they came to were speculation, all the way down to Trooper Proctor pointing out where John O'Keefe's body was to Trooper Joe Paul, and Trooper Joe Paul guesstimating what happened to John O'Keefe. It was all guessing. There was no science.
There's no body there.
There was no photograph of the body. And if Brian Albert, the homeowner, who again, I've said it in a previous video, has likely conducted thousands of accident investigations as a Boston police officer, he would know that you take photos of the body before the ambulance picks up the body, you know? But he and Nicole Albert, in my opinion, didn't want any responsibility to fall on them, any accountability to fall on them. And so they did not participate, even though the Celebrite data proved that Jennifer McCabe and Nicole Albert spoke on the phone once 8 seconds, once 7 seconds. The Celebrite data proved it. For whatever reason, Nicole Albert and Brian Albert never went outside. They didn't take any photos. You know, they didn't help. They didn't help even though the ambulance were there, the fire trucks were there. Karen Reed was screaming, you know, and their window in their bedroom, they had the closest view to John O'Keefe. Like lying at the flagpole, right? Like they had of all the windows in the house, Nicole Albert and Brian Albert's window had the best view. And yet they both claim they were asleep.
Yeah. So you asked in the beginning, you actually posed this as a question, and I was going to raise my hand like, calling me, analyze. For some reason, I think you preface it with for some reason. I know the reason. I think everybody in the chat knows the reason, and certainly Brian Albert knows the reason. Yeah, the reason was because if he would have come out, he would have become part of the scene, and they would have been compelled to question him by virtue of his presence.
Right.
And because he didn't come out, then there needed to be a step further for them to go. That's me knocking on my computer. Luckily, it's aluminum body Mac. So they would have had to go and knock on the door, and they had made the decision not to do that. That was the end of the investigation.
Exactly.
Now now we have gone from an investigation because we know who owns the house,
right?
And his name isn't Brian Smith. Otherwise, we'd go and take our nightstick and bang on the door with the nightstick.
Right.
Which the Las Vegas cops, Brian and Gonzo, said that's what they would have done. He said, I'm getting in that house. One way or another, I'm going to cite these laws. They cited a couple different laws. I'm not a police officer, even though I did take law enforcement my first year in college. They cited at least Las Vegas statutes that they thought potentially could be national of how they would try to get in the house. Basically kind of like a wellness check, if you will.
Right.
Something analogous to a wellness check.
Right.
I've seen analyzes That's what I'm saying. Analyze is dope, man. That's why we had to get her on here. We're gonna try to get her on everybody's show. And so that right there, they made that decision. That was the end. It flipped 180 degrees for now. How do we cover it up? And Analyze, I don't think they knew what they were getting, all the things they would have to cover. There's no way they could have known at that moment.
I agree. I think that even if you pay attention to Jennifer McCabe's actions, just her, like all of them had questionable actions, but if you just focus in on her, her story changes repeatedly. That they all met at Jennifer McCabe's house too. That Nicole Albert on the stand admitted that it was more of a conversation rather than an interview. Like that would never happen to you and I, you
No.
know, right? We're not married into law enforcement. We don't have law enforcement, right? Like we're just here, and we would never get those exceptions. But because multiple members of law enforcement were in that club, in the Canton Club, they made it through unscathed, and it's so obvious. It's so blatantly obvious. You don't have to be conspiracy minded. It's just so blatantly obvious, like that there is bias here. There's preferential treatment here, and that a majority of the members of law enforcement were friends. They were lifelong friends. That's how this happens. That's how this happens. And just like Alan Jackson said, when the thin blue line becomes a big old blue wall, like that's what happened in this case.
Yeah, that's exactly it. Is that I challenge anybody out there who's in law enforcement. It looks like I'm covering up the fire. I don't want Analyze to get cold. There you go. Make sure the fire gets. I challenge anybody. I don't know. I forgot to tell you to bring marshmallows, but yeah, next time you come on, we'll make sure. So I challenge anybody in law enforcement. Show me where it says in the Massachusetts state laws or in any of the bylaws that cover law enforcement or in your oath of office where it says, by virtue of this office, I can break the law. Show me where it says that. Where it says I don't need to give up evidence under the Brady Act. I don't need to disclose anything that could be exculpatory or indicative of somebody that's a defendant. I can just do whatever the hell I want to do. And that's what these guys act like, is that we don't have to follow the law. And because of that, I posted today. I don't know if these were Atlanta police officers. I believe they were. I didn't go back and check each one, but basically it's a town cop in Georgia in an interview room. Like Analyze said, not a conversation on the sofa at Jen McCabe's house with like cocoa and marshmallows and that neat stuff and maybe some hors d'oeuvres and a charcuterie board. It was this guy in the interview room with two officers asking him about his going onto Craigslist and soliciting women to go out with because they found one murdered. And by the end of that interview, he knew he was going to jail. And that is the way it's supposed to go. That's right. Where Matt Farwell should have found himself. Brian Albert, and we did a whole episode with Peter Murphy. He would have Brian Albert in one room, Brian Higgins in another room, Jennifer McCabe in another room, and they would have just go ahead and let them tell different stories and then until they implicated one another. Right. And they said, fuck all that. Because this guy's a law enforcement officer, she can break the law. It's okay if they break the law.
Right. Yeah.
That's what makes you think you can break the law? That we have to follow the law, but you don't have to follow the law.
Right. And again, that their knowledge, the members of law enforcement involved.
Sorry.
Oh my gosh.
Hera has once again invaded the show. I'm going to try to kick Hera. You got to go, baby. Okay. She invades half the shows. Sorry. All right.
Yeah, that the members of law enforcement who assisted in the cover-up used their knowledge in law enforcement, their experience in law enforcement to help cover it up. And they got
Right.
away with it. And
They think
remember
they
that
got away with it.
the FBI and the DOJ stepped in because to me, they knew it was suspicious. Like, you know what I mean? Like,
Yeah.
the FBI is in charge of every single police department in the US, and they came here to investigate. They used ARCA to investigate the death of one of their officers. John O'Keefe is not just an officer of Boston. He's an officer of the FBI as well. That's why they came here. And I'm
What do you
still
mean? What do you mean he's an officer of the FBI?
in that the FBI oversees every single police department in the US, you know? That's why I think the FBI came in.
I think overseas, I think they are the chief law enforcement agency of the United States that can even go outside of the United States to apprehend a suspect given the right conditions.
Right.
But there really isn't anybody that necessarily oversees. But if a case is presented to them and they see the case doesn't really go to them, it goes to the Department of Justice.
Right.
And or the U.S. attorney, like in this case, we have Assistant U.S. Attorney, what's his name again, Josh Levy, who was presented evidence that said, okay, we've got something going on here, and then the FBI acts as their law enforcement arm. But we should be careful about saying that they oversee, because they don't report to the FBI, but they would be an agency that could, if a state agency doesn't want to step in, which in this case. We have the Mass State Police. They have no intention of stepping in and doing the right thing. In fact, they are one of the perpetrators. So then, what do you have left? You get, the U.S. attorney and hopefully the FBI will go and arrest some of these slugs, and we can watch them wipe that smile off Yuri Buchanan's face.
Well, my point being, we still don't know ultimately what the DOJ and the FBI concluded with through the ARCA investigation. We don't have all those facts, but obviously to me, they stepped in because they figured out that there was a lack of oversight here. Something's not right.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm just waiting. Illegal. I've been waiting. When are they going to tell us why they stepped in, why they decided to conduct their own independent investigation?
It's kind of like I want to just suffix your sentence with, Lord, hear our prayer. So, because yeah, we assume, especially based on Sean McDonough, who was a federal agent with DEA and sources that he has in Boston at Uncle Joe's house that he refers to. He had to do a whole 10 minutes to explain how Uncle Joe's house got its name. That they do have interest in this case from the perspective of maybe civil rights violations of Karen Reed. And that can open the door for them to look at other things and look at the murder. Whereas with Sandra Birchmore, that is now not conjecture. That's a fact. That is an absolute fact that interest in with the Farwell brothers, particularly, obviously they arrested Matt Farwell. So our question of whether or not they were going to get involved and whether or not they're going to pursue other suspects, if they can find them guilty of something, absolutely. But with Karen Reed, it's only that we know that they hired those accident reconstructionists, and they would not have done that. They also apparently it's. Do we have proof? Does anybody know if do we have proof that they turned over 3,000 pages of information to the DA and to the defense? I don't know if we know that. Let me see what. This says, depending on the FBI, DOJ is a scary prospect, but it is literally our only hope. But a sad, yeah. I mean, they're the only. I mean, if the state agency is not going to go and investigate the local agency, well, then there's only one thing above the states. If this was the UK, they're all federal employees over there. So they police themselves.
Yeah.
So. But yeah, thank you, love. Yeah, I hope one of my co-hosts from Calling All Beings also is he has no power, water, or electricity in Western North Carolina, waiting for an update if he got something back today. So yeah, man, it is a very scary prospect that they are our last hope. And if something falls within their bounds, because when they read the charges against Sandra Birchmore, I was surprised at the things that they read. It was some sort of a witness related thing, right? Of killing a witness or something. Isn't that
Right.
what yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. That she knew things that other officers were involved,
Hmm.
and she was a witness of herself too, of the underage stuff going on between her and other officers, and there's at least 4 officers that we know of, you know,
Yeah.
between
Yeah.
2 different police departments.
Yep. But at least they've already done something, so we know that they're involved, and now it's just a matter of a waiting game until whatever their game plan is. And Sean has said in multiple occasions that they don't work quickly, they work thoroughly, and they work deliberately, kind of like probably how you do your research. But I wanted to open the floor for things that you've uncovered about this case, because you did such an outstanding job on 27B, among other things. So what kind of are some of your finer points?
Finer points as in the
The
like,
Karen Reed case, and yeah, things that you found interesting. It could be tail light stuff. It could be the key cycles. There was one of your colleagues did a whole video about key cycles.
yeah, the key cycle 1162, because Trooper Joe
Yeah.
Paul, his entire so-called investigation relies on key cycle 1162, which was not even Karen Reed. Trooper Joe Paul started his investigation at key cycle 1164, and key cycle 1162 was when the tow truck, when the SUV was being driven onto the tow truck. So key cycle 1162 was not Karen Reed, and yet that's what the investigator, the accident reconstructionist, Trooper Joe Paul, says on the stand. And just again, just anybody listening to him as the accident reconstructionist, to me, they owe John O'Keefe a lot more than Trooper Joe Paul. Um, yeah, the comment, I can't even with the key cycle. It's like, yeah. Uh, um, and
but
several other, yeah, go ahead.
But it's important though, because the math. Just because one of the highlights of the trial, it was me. I don't know where I was driving that day, and I heard Alan Jackson ask him. He couldn't define kinematics.
Yeah,
I was like, he's doing this
yeah,
accident reconstructionist, and he can't. He doesn't. And he says, "Yeah, I took some courses at the local junior college, and he can't define kinematics." But can you do math? Because
right,
if you can't do the subtraction between 1164 two key cycles, and you know that the car was driven up onto the truck, driven off the truck, and then driven in the place. Come on, man. I mean,
right.
come on, dude.
Verbatim, Trooper Joe Paul says, I got the addresses from Trooper Proctor. I put them in the thing, and one of the possibilities was 36 miles. I put them in the thing.
Because his whole thing was he was going to try to demo where she had put 70% throttle, because
Right,
like a throttle position sensor, and
right.
he dorked that all up, man.
Yeah. It it was difficult to watch him. But also I think what's what was intriguing to me was the sisters, Nicole Albert and Jennifer McCabe, how they were both defensive at times on the stand. And just watching the trial, it was so easy to tell that they were lying, but they had their own style of lying. Nicole Albert was calmer, whereas Jennifer McCabe would come out with her teeth. She'd be
Yeah.
like growling,
Yeah.
and it was scary to watch her at times. The way she
Yeah.
looked, like she looked like she wanted to hurt
Yes.
someone. But um, what they have in common with their testimonies is that they both testified to providing statements to law enforcement that they later said it's that's what he said, but that's not what I said.
Right. Yes. That wasn't what I told him. Right. Because
Right.
that way you could get out of it saying that them proving that you're a liar.
Right. Yeah. Like, I was going to provide an example. Oh, and just
Sure.
Judge Bev herself too.
Mm-hmm.
She, in my opinion, she ignored prerequisites that the defense had. She rushed them in their presentation. She, whenever they would publish something for the jury to see, she would hurry it up. And like when Elizabeth Little was questioning Nicole Albert, I noticed it especially then. Like Elizabeth Little would be on a roll, you know, she would be like getting those good questions, and then either Lally or Canoni would like interrupt, either because of the what was published or because of the foundation she was trying to build. It was just a lot of like, to
Mm-hmm.
me, deliberate interruption going on top
Deliberate.
of the deceitful testimony from the witnesses. You know, 68 so-called witnesses for the prosecution, and a majority of them denied the Celebrite data or destroyed their cell phones. You know, like it's there are too many red flags in this case, and I have said it in my videos. I really hope that law schools like look at this trial and they watch every minute of this trial and they go through all the evidence, because to me this entire case needs to be studied for years to come. Like we need to know what corruption looks like. This is what it looks like when multiple members of law enforcement are in the same game against this one individual, you know. And she's outnumbered, Karen Reed. She's outnumbered. Thankfully, she had the resources to defend herself. But as I've said in my videos, imagine if she didn't have the resources. Would we even know about
No.
this case? Would this
She'd be
just
in
been
jail.
right? This would have been swept under the rug, and everybody would have hated her. Oh my gosh, she did that, right? But thankfully, people like Aidan Kearney and other independent journalists are they brought this to light, you know. And
Yep.
I really got into it because, like, I live in Massachusetts. It was hitting too close to home. I was getting angry listening to what all these different news reports when I first heard about it. I just felt like something's listening to it. I'm like, that seems really weird. Like the official narrative seemed really strange. Like, but nobody saw him when they left the house. Nobody saw him when they left the house. You know, and
Saw
yeah, go
who?
ahead. John O'Keefe on the lawn,
Oh, right.
right? Like they
Interesting. Yeah.
all
Nobody.
left, but nobody saw him. Multiple people were there, and nobody saw him on the lawn. It's just, again, and then the lack of investigation.
And one of my friends from the Bigfoot community, who I made aware, he had to sit and listen to me talk about the Karen Reed trial case and Sandra Birchmore, and he was in town to meet a client in Canton, stayed overnight. So what do you think he did? He drove by 34 Fairview, and he said, "Man, it's really small." But when you look at representations of this on the web, and when you
Right.
look at Turtle Boy's background, and by the way, absolutely, Turtle Boy is he's a man of uncommon valor and uncommon courage. He really is.
Right.
That looks like a huge yard, but people that have driven by there tells me it is not huge. Would you agree with that? Have you driven by?
What it is they have a big golf like country club behind them.
Mm-hmm.
So it make like there are no houses behind 34 Fairview. So it
Mm-hmm.
makes it look like it's bigger than it is, but it's not that big. You're right. Um anyway,
Yeah.
uh
And so people, we say that to say that people that were exiting the home after Karen Reed left, which obviously, she left. If you watch Microdot's video, it does a pretty good representation where she sat out there for 10 minutes. She probably rolled home, and she's probably like, screw this, and like, I'm going to go home and go to sleep, and he'll call me when he wants a ride
right.
back. And that's when she got home and started sending all those messages and texts and voicemails. And you don't do that You know, Turtle Boy says it over and over. It's like the Lacey Peterson's husband Scott left these lovey-dovey voicemails after he had killed her, and that's
Right.
Karen Reed would not have done that. Would have said, "You stupid, you
No.
ass."
It's hard. I think the video stopped, just so you're aware. I'm not hearing anything. Okay, we lost. All right. Well, hopefully you come back. I could always sing. I can see the chat. Yeah. Okay. I feel bad talking with him on his own platform, on his own channel. All right. I'm going to list off some details I found interesting about the case. And I wrote this down for this show. Um, but hopefully DJ comes back because I don't want to run his show. In my opinion, Trooper Joe Paul should have been impeached as a witness for the prosecution due to prior inconsistent statements. So too should have Jennifer McCabe. I think multiple witnesses for the prosecution should have been impeached based on prior inconsistent statements. And I think in any other courtroom they would have been, for sure. I did go to one of the demonstrations a month ago. Yes, MJA Boston. They all had inconsistent statements. I went to a demonstration last month, um, and I took video and photos with Aiden Kearney. You're right. It's not over yet, but I'm really hoping they don't retry Karen Reed. Really hoping. Yeah. Right, exactly. Judge Bev herself, like I mentioned earlier, she ignored prerequisites that the defense had, like like say you want to submit evidence in order to publish it to the jury. Even though the defense would meet all of the prerequisites, the judge would still rush through the presentation, and that just doesn't happen in a normal criminal case. Right. That's a good question, Sherry. Um, but it's like, why hasn't anyone been charged with perjury? I think it's safe to ask that question of all the witnesses on the prosecution side, um, that they were clearly all friends or related in some way, some fashion. Even the state troopers, even the lead investigator, Trooper Michael Proctor, he was related, or he would go to their parties at 34 Fairview. Just, it's disgusting how much they all got away with. Yeah, I hope so, Tommy. I hope they nail everyone before January. We will see. Yeah, I don't know if you guys read the jury interviews that Aiden Kearney provided, but they're insightful. They really are. And this, I don't know if people know, like I see these comments a lot on videos. Um, People wonder why Judge Bev was able to select the four-person. And I think it's important for everyone to know that in the state of Massachusetts, the judge is permitted to select the four-person. So that wasn't corruption. It's actually just the state of Massachusetts thing. She was permitted to select a four-person. I really hope DJ comes back, people. But if not, I know he wanted to end this in time for the young jerks to come on. Okay, let's see. There was a question that DJ asked me earlier, and oh, there you are, DJ! Yay!
Hey, I'm back. Thank you for taking the show. I owe you. I owe you. Thank you so much, love.
You're welcome.
Go ahead. Go ahead.
The question you asked, there was that Jennifer McCabe had told Michael Proctor that Karen Reed's SUV was facing south, right? It was facing Chapman. But during trial, she said it was facing north toward Cedar Crest.
I don't know which way is which. Is that passenger side toward the home, or is that driver's side toward the home?
So driver's side toward the home. Driver's side. That's confusing.
Yeah, in other words,
passenger side toward the home.
That makes sense. Side,
that's what Jennifer McCabe's. That's why I think this wasn't really planned. The cover up they worked out along the way. You know, they got their stories kind of straight along the way. Mm-hmm. Where a key detail is that Jennifer McCabe said Karen Reed's SUV was facing south toward Chapman. That's what she told Michael Proctor, the lead investigator. But during trial, she said it was facing north toward direction. Cedar Crest, right? So, I mean, and if you think of Jennifer McCabe, she's been going to this house for a lot of years. Her sister, right? Like,
the wife.
They're raising their kids together, right? And going to parties and stuff. Like, Jennifer McCabe would know this neighborhood. She would know it. So how can you get that wrong? How can you say one direction and then the opposite direction later on? How does that work?
Well, she's just such a liar. And what's funny is she was so aggressive with, like you said, she was so aggressive with the the defense. But it's funny, when Turtle Boy showed up at the soccer game, she wasn't aggressive at all.
So, oh yeah. Very interesting. Funny. Yeah.
She didn't have a word to say to Turtle Boy. Didn't want to buck up and go, get out of my face, get out of my daughter's game. She just sat there pretending he wasn't there. So it just shows that she's one of those people that can play tough when, you know, she's got all the backup there. Just like Chris Albert and Sam Nagel and a bunch of those schmucks and Jim Ferris and so forth. What I'm looking at here, I'm looking at a representation. Let me see if I could bring this up on the show so that we can discuss this real quick. I have a map of 34 Fairview where there's this man on the lawn. Let me see. What is this? Google? I don't know. Okay, allow for 1 month. Sure. Okay, I think I need to bring this up on Chrome as opposed to, because StreamYard hates Safari. I think like I messaged you that one day, right? I'm like,
yeah.
StreamYard hates Safari. So just give me a second to bring this up. Yeah, Jim Ferris, Jill Daniels charge. Hell yeah, Charity. And by the way, I'm going to star this. I'm going to get to all the stuff in the chat like at the end, because I know like people are going to cut out here in like 15 minutes and probably go and engage with Mike and the Young Jicks, trying to leverage my Massachusetts accent. You know what's interesting is the street view on Google. They got rid of that street view, so they've blocked the image of the house. There must have been so many people trying to look at the image of these schmucks' houses. But here we go. Now I can get it up on StreamYard.
I did see that they blurred the house.
They did.
Yeah.
They fooled us. Now we'll think it isn't there. They got us. They got us, man. There is no 34 Fairview. It doesn't exist. So let me see this thing. Okay, there's that. There's motive. What is that doing there? Why isn't it my Google Map there? There's 34 Fairview. Chrome tab. Okay, Google Maps. Let's see if this will come up now. Because I'm envisioning that the passenger side would have been toward the house.
Right.
And if somebody can, I have the houses blurred before they blurred them out. That's a Sherry D. You're so funny, man. You guys are so funny. It doesn't look like this wants to work right now. So I don't know why. I thought I was a nice guy. All right. Yeah, I think it maybe because it's 34 Fairview, and maybe that's why they don't want to show it. So they've got it blocked. You can't share it. Oh, my God. Look at Morrissey. I don't want them sharing on StreamYard, all these content creators. Anyway, but can anybody can anybody confirm that the car, at least in my interpretation, which could be wrong, would have been facing south toward whatever the street that Analyze named?
Chapman.
It's Chapman. With the passenger side and parked along the against the curb. Is that correct?
Yeah.
Here's something right here. Ben Rico, that made me want to cry. Yeah. That is really that's pretty sick, Phoebe. But there's some sick people out there. People, I'm gonna have to quote Mark Twain again. There's a lot of people. Some of them were on the jury that they're just going to believe whatever it is they want to believe. And the Mark Twain quote goes, and I'm paraphrasing. This isn't going to be a direct quote. Is it's far easier to fool a man than it is to convince him he's been fooled.
Yes. And what I have said in the past and on my own social media when I was on there is the credulous always outnumber the wise. So
say that again, love, because I was putting up that tweet.
The credulous always outnumber the wise. You will usually come across someone who believes things with little evidence than you will someone who's a critical thinker.
Yeah, absolutely. It's common sense isn't common is another phrase you hear these days, especially in this era. You hear common sense isn't common. People will they'll have an ideology, and the police are all good, and I back the blue. I mean, nobody was more. You can look at my Twitter profile, and what it'll say there is it'll say Black Lives Matter and Love LE. Or BLM plus Love LE, because you can do both, But Turtle Boy will tell you he was anti-Black Lives Matter, big back the blue guy, and now they've turned on him. And I said to Suzanne the other day, I said one of the things that's very ironic is black people get really, really pissed off because they get unfairly targeted by law enforcement. And that's what drives them crazy sometimes, that this happens. And Turtle Boy gets pissed off because he's unfairly targeted by law enforcement.
Right.
It's the exact, he is now a victim of that which PLM was talking about.
Right.
And it's happened over and over and over. Everybody knows, and you've heard me say this, I'm from Air Force Special Operations Command. That was where I spent the last 10 years of my career. Plus, I worked for them as a contractor, a civilian, all kinds of different roles. I bleed AFSOC Brown. And we just had an airman shot and killed by a Okaloosa County sheriff because he went up to his apartment. He banged on the door very loudly.
Right.
He stepped away from the peephole because he didn't want to show himself. So the kid inside is like, I don't know who the hell's banging on my door at 2 p.m. So he takes his 9mm out. He opens the front door, 6 right into the chest. So the whole point of that is that, and that guy, by the way, he's already been fired by Okaloosa County sheriffs. By the way, already been fired.
Right.
So it's just, and that is exactly what Turtle Boy is a victim of. That's what the Canton Nine are a victim of. Is uneven law enforcement.
Right.
Yuri and these guys going and knocking on these women's doors saying, "You sent a message to Jennifer McCabe? Get the out of here. Are you kidding me? What is this, middle school?
Yeah.
What do you need? A state trooper from the DA's office going in force because you sent Jen McCabe a message that said you're a liar and you helped cover this up? Because that's true.
Right. Yeah. She is a liar. It's true. We all know it.
Big time.
Yeah.
Big time. So anyway, so yeah, Sharon D's sending me some stuff. I'm gonna do. I know you guys are gonna blast, but I will get to stuff in the chat. But we gotta get more analyzed up in this joint because my internet service provider denied me of more analyzed content, and this will not stand. Give me analyze or give me death. All right. I think that was Patrick Henry, who
That's
also
cool.
said, by the way, united we stand, and divided we fall. Think about that one.
Yeah.
So
yeah. And I want people to know too, like I still say a majority of people observing this case believe and know that Karen Reed is not guilty. A majority of people. I saw the online polls, you know, in different chats, different YouTube channels provided the polls, you know, anywhere from 80 to 90% of people said not guilty. And then when I went to Dedham myself and participated in the demonstrations, a majority of people there were Karen Reed supporters. You know, so I just want people out there to know, like, if you feel like you can't speak up or you can't voice your opinion because you're afraid of Karen Reed trolls, just speak up because they're outnumbered. A majority of us know that Karen Reed is not guilty. And we lost DJ again. Poor DJ. We should all protest against his internet provider. Poor DJ. DJ, you've got 4 minutes left for your show. Okay. Well, all right. I'm gonna wait a couple minutes, but I will have to exit the stream for the young jerks to, you know, for their sake. Anyway, thank you all for joining us. I intended to go over a lot more, but you know, internet problems, technical difficulties, they happen. So yeah, I will do this again at some point if DJ wants me back on. And I think we should go into the deep dive of like actual things that were proven to be lies. I think that would be cool to have a show where we're like listening to testimony and other testimony that contradicts it. Kind of like what I do on my channel. I I provided videos of Jen McCabe, Cotton Lies, Brian Higgins, Cotton Lies, Brian Albert, Cotton Lies. I think we should keep doing those things just to prove that there was a lot of corruption here, and there was a lot of deceit from the witnesses, and Karen Reed was unjustly um, prosecuted for something she didn't do. Thank you guys. Thank you for being here. Again, I know that DJ wanted to end the stream at 7 Eastern Standard Time so that he doesn't conflict with the Young Jerks live stream. So I will be exiting here myself. Yeah, it's true. Reliable internet. Thank you all for being here. Thank you for spending your evening with us. Thank you, Julie, you as well. I hope you all have a great evening. I'll stay on for one more minute in case DJ comes back. Hopefully. Come back, DJ. Come back. You gotta say bye at least. Come on, DJ. My YouTube channel is Analyze. DJ says I should change the name because it's difficult to find, and so I will be changing the name. Because I keep getting comments on my channel that I should change the name because it's hard for people to find it. So I guess I wasn't that creative when I came up with it. Hi, Glenn. Yeah, sorry about that. I will be changing the name. So, all right, guys, we've got 1 minute left. So, thank you for joining us again. And I hope you all have a great evening. Justice for John O'Keefe, free Karen Reed, justice for Sandra Birchmore, justice for Enrique Delgado Garcia. Thank you all for joining us. Have a good night. Be safe. Bye, guys. Thank you.
Hey, I'm back. I don't know if anybody's still here. The show. I moved the router to where it needed to go. I don't know. So there are some people here. I know Mike is coming on right now, so I realize you're going over to Mike. If you have other I didn't peace out as DJ said. If you have let me just tell Analyze. Hey, Analyze, I came back in just to see if anybody has any final questions, and if not, we met you for the hour, so I will call you ASAP after the show just to thank you quickly. Okay, so if any, I don't questions that we hadn't have gotten to. I must have found your channel. I already subbed to it. I don't know if this is Queen Olivia. I know this Olivia Lambo, who I had communicated, tweeted. We were in some tweets. So thank you so much. I did want to get you on the show as well. You have amazing stuff. Oh, and she's back. Yay!
Yay.
So I moved me router. It's
All
not in the
right.
same place now. Oh, love. I moved it. That's my Glasgow accent. So in case you want to know. She's like, okay, DJ, just get on with it. Did you get any questions while we were there, or while I left? Were you still there? Were you up
I was, yeah. I said goodbye
and
to you
running?
people.
Okay. You dismissed the class. Okay, the sub is here. Oh, you all are dismissed. So
Yeah.
All right. It doesn't look like anybody has any questions. Probably guess some people have gone over to see Mike's channel. He's having on a guest tonight. I can't remember who it is, but I'm sure it's going to be a great show. So yeah, maybe we got to retry this. Hey, so James Jackson's here. James, what's up? Do you have any question? Oh, James, are you with JFK? Correct me if I'm wrong on that. You are JFK's co-host. Have you seen JFK Analyze?
I have seen some of his work.
Yes.
Yeah.
Hello?
Yeah. Can you hear me?
JFK, he came on with us a couple of weeks ago and we did a music episode. Yeah, that's it. So you are that, James. Welcome, James. Tell JFK we said what's up. I had massive technical problems and went off air twice. So that means I got to invite Analyze back. The guy who declined the police audit, okay, what's this here? I think it's going to go dead again. Yeah, I think I'm going to lose you again because it's working to say. I'll call you.
Okay.
All right, everybody. Good night, everybody.
Bye.
Bye. I'm so sorry about this, everybody.
No worries.